Final 2025 Detroit Lions 53-man roster prediction, Jeremy Reisman edition. The Detroit Lions will spend the next 3 days paring down their roster from 91 players to 53. Tough decisions are ahead, and for General Manager Brad Holmes and Coach Dan Campbell, there will likely be intense and difficult conversations ahead. I did my best to create an initial 53-man roster prediction for the 2025 Lions. Eric Schlitt did the same, and you can see his projections here. https://Detroit Lions roster/139543. Final 2025 Detroit Lions 53-man roster prediction. Note, an asterisk denotes the player is a rookie. Quarterbacks: 2 Jared Goff, Kyle Allen, Hendon Hooker. Kyle Allen handily won the backup quarterback job, and Coach Dan Campbell even admitted as much after the final preseason game. As for keeping Hooker as a potential third, here was Campbell's answer on the things they are considering when it comes to Hooker's roster spot. How much development do you believe there still is? Sometimes does the player need a change of scenery? What about our own depth in other areas? I mentioned this the other day relative to that. All right, maybe there is room to grow. Is that worth it for the depth we need at O-line, D-line, receiver, DB? If a change in scenery is being brought up, that doesn't just tell you that QB3 is out of the question, but it may also mean Hooker won't be back on the practice squad if he clears waivers. Running back 4, Jahmyr, Gibbs, David Montgomery, Craig Reynolds, Sione Vaki, Jacob Sailors, Deion Jackson. No drama here. The only question was whether Vaki's injury was serious, and Campbell confirmed Saturday that it wasn't. Sailors has had a nice preseason and has likely earned himself a spot on the practice squad. Wide receiver 7. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, Tim Patrick, Khalif Raymond, Isaac TeSlaa, Jackson Meeks, Dominic Lovett, Tom Kennedy, Ronnie Bell, Jacoby Keeney James. 7 wide receivers is admittedly hard to justify, but there are 2 things said this offseason that I cannot get out of my mind. The first was Campbell, back during the owners' meetings. We would love to bring in more competition, particularly some youth. That would help and let them all mix it up. Get in there and see where it all falls. With Raymond at 31 years old and in the final year of his contract, and Patrick about to turn 32, the Lions seriously invested in youth this offseason, with not only 3rd-round pick Isaac TeSlaa, but 7th-round pick Dominic Lovett and high-priority UDFA Jackson Meeks. TeSlaa will get a role early, while Lovett and Meeks are pretty close to 1-to-1 replacements for Raymond and Patrick in a year or 2. In the meantime, they can contribute right away if you need them to. Which brings me to the second quote via special teams coordinator Dave Phipp. Lovett has shown some things for us on the outside. Meeks has shown some things from the wide receiver position. So we've got some wide receivers contributing on special teams, which is beneficial because the last time in 4 years we haven't gotten a lot out of that group other than Khalif as a punt returner. For those guys to be able to help out in a core role, potentially it can help take some off of some other players. The Lions haven't kept 7 receivers very often in the past, but they've never had special teams contributors like Lovett and Meeks. And when it comes down to these last roster spots, who is more likely to get claimed? A DB10, LB7, a DL10, or a WR7? Given how receiver hungry the league is right now, I think the Lions may want to protect those the most. If I had to pick between one or the other, it would be Meeks because he has more good preseason tape out there that could result in poaching. But why not keep both? Tight end 3, Sam Laporta, Brock Wright, Shane Zylstra, Zach Horton, Steven Stylianos, Gunnar Oaks. Horton has a shot if Detroit wants someone who can play fullback full-time, but that doesn't figure to be a big enough role to warrant a roster spot, in my opinion. Zylstra was taken out of Saturday's game early, suggesting they value him as TE3. Offensive tackle 4, Penei Sewell, Taylor Decker, Dan Skipper, Giovanni Manu, Jamarco Jones, Mason Miller, Gunnar Britton. Manu has shown enough growth to warrant at least one more year of development, and I thought he finished the preseason strong. I don't think there's much question about Skipper being the primary backup tackle, even though I thought Jones was closing in before injuries sidelined him. Interior offensive line, 5, Graham Glasgow, Christian Mahogany, Tate Ratledge, Coyote Awasika, Kingsley Egwakun, Natane Muti, Michael Neese, Zach Johnson, Reserve PUP, Miles Frazier, Return Injured Reserve, Tristan Colon. Egwakun appears to have taken over the backup center role after Colon's unfortunate injury. We've already seen some progress in Colon's recovery, so don't be surprised if he challenges for that job once he's back. That's why I believe he'll take up one of Detroit's 2 IR to return spots allowed at cutdowns. Elsewhere, Awasika and Muti have been neck and neck, and I considered keeping both, but Muti isn't subject to waivers, and hopefully he'd agree to return on the practice squad. Defensive end, 4, Aiden Hutchinson, Marcus Davenport, Al-Quadin Muhammad, Nate Lynn, Isaac Ukwu, Mitchell Agude, Reserve NFI, Josh Paschal, Return Injured Reserve, Ahmed Hassanin. After Saturday's subpar efforts in the pass rush, I considered keeping just 3 defensive ends and basically holding a spot for Zadarius Smith. The depth here is pretty darn thin, with Josh Paschal now expected to miss the first 4 games and potentially more, and Ahmed Hassanin out for the foreseeable future. Some versatility on the interior will help, but for now, I'm just giving a spot to Nate Lynn. He's flashed more than everyone else in this group. I have concerns about his ability to defend the run, and admittedly, Isaac Ukwu had 3 quarterback hits in the finale, but I didn't come away particularly impressed with the reserve CA. If there's some work to do on the roster, it's here, and it seems like there's a pretty obvious solution just sitting there. Defensive tackle, 5, DJ Reader, Tyleek Williams, Roy Lopez, Pat O'Connor, Mackay Wingo, Keith Cooper, Chris Smith, Miles Adams, Broderick Martin, Reserve PUP, Alam McNeil. Keith Cooper's exclusion was one of the tougher decisions I made, but a few things to point out about him. While yes, he did flash in camp and even get some first-team reps at times, his performance in the preseason was wholly forgettable. In 4 games, he had a total of 5 tackles, 1 quarterback hit, and didn't earn a PFF grade above 62.1 this preseason. Final game grade still pending. Additionally, remember that Cooper didn't even sign a UDFA contract until he won a spot via rookie minicamp tryouts. That tells me he's got a good chance to slip through waivers. And with the return of Mackay Wingo, who told reporters he expects to be ready by week 1, Detroit can go a little thin here. Even if Wingo is not ready by week 1, the Lions could elevate Cooper from the practice squad for a week or 2. I'm also not sleeping on a complete surprise from this group. I thought Chris Smith had an excellent preseason, but there's just little need for a third nose tackle with limited upside at a 3 tech. Miles Adams has also drawn the praise of Campbell several times, so don't be shocked if he sticks around. Linebacker, 6, Jack Campbell, Alex Anzalone, Derek Barnes, Grant Stewart, Trevor Nowaski, Zach Cunningham, Anthony Pittman, Deron Gilbert, Reserve, PUP, Malcolm Rodriguez, full season IR, Ezekiel Turner, not much drama here. Nowaski cemented his spot on the roster a while back as a starter on special teams and the primary backup at Sam. Now that he's flashing at Mike, he's a guy that could be around for years to come. The only question I have here is whether the Lions would consider a 7th linebacker in Anthony Pittman simply for his special team skills. That could help loosen the load off a guy like Derek Barnes, who has been repping with special teams starters. Defensive backs, 10. Terrion Arnold, DJ Reed, Amik Robertson, Avonte Maddox, Khalil Dorsey, Brian Branch, Kirby Joseph, Rock Ya-Sin, Ian Kennelly, Eric Hallett, Maurice Norris, Lauren Strickland, Nick Whiteside, Tyson Russell, DJ Miller, Luke Barku, Alan George. I'm putting all the defensive backs together because several players, Avonte Maddox, Brian Branch, Rock Ya-Sin, Eric Hallett, blur the lines between cornerback and safety. I have 8 guys: Arnold, Reed, Robertson, Maddox, Dorsey, Branch, Joseph, Ya-Sin as locks. The rest is just a conversation on how many the Lions need to keep. Hallett earns a spot due to his versatility and physical play style. Kennelly earns a spot as someone who has been repping with the starting special teams units for the past few weeks in camp. Strickland made a strong push in the final preseason game, but he's been behind Kennelly for a while.